Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. A little chilly of a morning, but not too bad. Starting to warm back up. We had a little cold break for the last couple of days, and so we're getting back into the normal, abnormal temperatures, you know, because it's been a warm winter, and then now it's looking to be a very warm spring. So there's a lot of stuff going on with this whole European conflict. I don't know exactly what we want to call it, but the Russia, Ukraine, NATO, United States, all of that. And I talked about it yesterday, how it is, it's kind of on the move again. I mean, it's not that it's ever stopped, but it's certainly escalating over there. And the increased likelihood that this is going to expand, I think I think it's a good likelihood. There's a lot of people speculating more and more that the West, let me get my tongue untwisted, the West, NATO, the United States, really would like to have a World War III or some type of escalated big conflict going on before this upcoming election, because it's not just that Biden and all the left here in America want to keep Biden in the White House. Most of Europe does also. In fact, there's been even comments from like the French president and other people that they would prefer to see Biden stay in power. So they've got to have something go on. And, you know, just yesterday on Tucker Carlson, Ron Paul, who I have interviewed on this channel also, just had to say that. Dr. Ron Paul said that he thinks that there's going to be a black swan event. And I don't doubt that. I don't disagree with him. But anyways, the point is that this is escalating more and more all the time. Every day things are kind of moving. Now today the news media, or at least some in the news media, is becoming a little bit more vocal about the strong possibility that France is sending 2,000 troops into Ukraine. You know, like I was saying yesterday in the video, that for the longest time, NATO was really doing this denial that they had any troops in Ukraine, or that they were going to send any troops in Ukraine. And slowly, little by little, progressively, they have, you know, not that they've warmed up to it. I think that it's been a campaign to condition the people for when NATO troops are officially in Ukraine fighting against Russia. There's been NATO troops probably from day one. American advisors and different, you know, European troops from day one. But we're talking in official capacity. And so France has said that they're sending 2,000 troops over. So that's going to be that's a major escalation. There are several other European countries that are talking the same kind of talk, that it's very likely that they will be sending troops over. I mean, we have troops in Israel, we have troops in Taiwan. So putting NATO troops in Ukraine is not a big surprise. Like I said, I feel they've been there probably since day one. Anyways, the point is that things are escalating. Yesterday, BRICS called on all the Middle Eastern countries, the oil-rich Middle Eastern countries, which is pretty much all of them, to stop using U.S. dollars in transactions. And I said this also yesterday, that since the first of the year, really. I mean, it's been going on for longer than that, but since the first of the year, the rhetoric seems to have increased coming from the BRICS nations on it being something against the U.S. dollar, that it's trying to take it down. They're constantly talking about a digital payment system that they're developing. They're constantly talking about how the U.S. dollar is going to fail, all this kind of stuff. There's something like 35 more nations this year so far that have said they want to be part of BRICS. So now they're saying and telling Middle Eastern countries, which some of them are part of BRICS, Saudi Arabia being the biggest one, to stop using U.S. dollar in oil transactions. That, my friend, is one of the two only reasons that the U.S. dollar has any value. And they're connected, the global military power. And being the petrodollar. Well, the global military power has been showing much less power in the last 2 or 3 years. And then if they stop using it for oil, well, then what's the point in the US dollar anymore? And they know that. So it's all increasing, right? Just the rhetoric, the movements on the map, all of it. It's very possible that we are going to see some kind of World War III, whether it happens in Israel when they decide to start building the temple, very possibly this year. I know that's just, you know, out there in left field. I threw that at you, but yeah, it kind of looks like it. Movement on Taiwan, whatever. Russia, Ukraine, NATO, who knows? The possibility of some kind of World War III type of conflict before the end of the year is becoming much more likely. So, I said all of that for 6 minutes to say this. You and I have to be prepared for it. And I know that you're going to say, well, yeah, it's the common things, you know, stock up on this, blah, 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 you know. Yes, you're right. But what we have to realize is that there's going to be a couple of big things in play if this happens. It's going to hurt your money, okay? Your money is already weak. Government's already in an insane amount of debt. The budget for this next year, Biden wants to spend $7.5 trillion, which is about $2.5 trillion over and above the income for the country. So it's just, you know, we're looking at probably anywhere between $3 and $5 trillion in additional debt every year, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. And then if the, you know, petrodollar fails and they start using the, you know, some kind of BRICS currency, the yuan or whatever it is. So your purchasing power is going to continue to drop, which means inflation's going to continue to go up. It's already started going back up. It's going to go up more. So you need to factor that in. So if you're planning on making a purchase in the next, you know, however long, and you say, well, you know, I'm going to buy this tractor, okay, and I found it and it's $10,000, and we should have the money in 6 months. Well, you better figure on spending $12,000 to $15,000 because you don't know in 6 months. It may be even worse than that, but I would certainly factor that in on any future spending. You need to be looking at things that that are involved in petrol. I know that's a lot because, you know, oil, crude oil makes a lot of things, but keep stocked up on your fuel. Fuel for your cars, fuel for your small motors. If you use diesel, kerosene, anything like that, oil, changing oil in your vehicles. I would have, you know, at least 2 to 3 oil changes of oil saved up, because I mean, we could see embargoes, we could see all kinds of things happen if a war breaks out, big war breaks out that includes potentially the Middle East, because it most likely would. So, you know, start taking account of the things that would be affected when it comes to crude oil, gasoline, fuels, oils, all that kind of stuff. And I would start stocking up on those. Look at things that you use in your life that are imported a lot. And that's going to be a lot of stuff. Not just that the stuff is imported. A lot of things are manufactured here in the United States, but use imported materials. That would be greatly affected if one of these big wars, or all of them, break out. Obviously, the first one is China. The first thing that I think of, because obviously a lot of things come from China or materials, is medical. Something in the neighborhood of 85 to 95% of all medical supplies that the United States uses comes from China, or the materials to make them come from China. Medicines, bandages, oxygen tubing, anything medical, everything from the supplies to the medicines, the huge majority of it all come from China. It wouldn't take much for China to just say, you know, we're going to put a 6-month ban on shipping. And I know everyone's going to say, yeah, but that would hurt China too. Yes, it would, but China has other business partners. And, you know, I think China might just be the type of people that would say, you know, we're willing to endure the pain because we know it's going to hurt America a lot worse than it's going to hurt us. And so it's very possible. And so that's why I have advocated from the very beginning of making these videos is that when it comes to things like medical, you should have a nice little storehouse supply, a cabinet filled, a closet or whatever of medical supplies, not just a first aid kit or two. Those are great. I advocate for first. I'm a medical guy, okay? Yes, you should have an IFAC. You should, and I don't care where you get it as long as it's a good one. Home first aid kits, all those things are important, but you need to have stuff to refill them. And so you need to be buying, and you can buy medical supplies, especially just bandages and stuff like that in bulk, pretty cheap. It really is not expensive to buy like a case of Band-Aids or a case by a 4x4 gauze or, whatever it is. There's a few items that are pricey, but most things are pretty cheap when you buy them in that way. So I would definitely be stocking up on that. Over-the-counter medications, we have watched over-the-counter medication supplies fluctuate greatly over the last 2 or 3 years. Cold medicines and over-the-counter painkillers. And I'm not a big advocate of all that kind of stuff, but it does have its place. And it's very difficult for most of us to stockpile prescription medications. So I would certainly be looking at over-the-counter. Over-the-counter medications, it's like over 95% of them are manufactured either in China or India, and the ones that are manufactured in India, the raw materials come from China, so you might as well just say it's all. Make sure you have a good stockpile of that. Over-the-counter medications, cold, cough, pain reliever, whatever else that you might commonly use. Have a good stockpile of that. Look at other things that would be coming from imports that are, tires, automotive stuff. Did you know that and I'm not talking like the cheap junky stuff. It is hard to find name brand, like well-known, established name brand automotive parts anymore that either are not manufactured overseas or that the raw materials don't come from overseas. It's very, very, very difficult to find 100% all components made in the United States automotive parts. So, it wouldn't hurt to have some of that stuff laying around, even if you, could find a set of good used tires for your vehicle, just spare, just to have sitting in the corner of your garage. You can find decent quality used tires. Get out of my face, bug. That kind of stuff. So I would certainly be looking at, and then just look at other things in your home, your homestead, parts for chainsaws, other things. Of course, you can't stock up on everything like that, but there are some real basic kind of necessities to keep a homestead functioning that you can stock up on. And so I would be evaluating that pretty soon and doing what you can to start making that happening, because like I said, it looks like we're getting real close. Now, it may not happen. I know, because we've been also saying this for the last 3 years. But I think if you look at from the beginning till now, we're definitely much closer than we've ever been. And I think that if you haven't been preparing, you're way behind the curve. But we definitely need to step it up, start getting ready, because the way things look, it could be days or just a few weeks away, and things will change. I think that initially there'll be this big shock. People will almost be paralyzed in shock because they've gotten so conditioned by what's going on in Ukraine over the last couple of years that they've kind of lost interest and think it's not going to happen. So there will be a shock, but then there's going to be a panic, especially depending on how big it is. If some type of nuclear event happened, even if it was small, that would really cause a lot of panic. But even if it's not that, even if it's just conventional, warfare that's pretty obviously expanding, eventually you're going to start seeing people, maybe not overnight panic, but I would say increase their level of, collecting goods and prepping and stuff. And so we want to be aware of that. I suspect what's going to happen is they're going to try to not make it some big overnight, just outlandish kind of, going from what it is now to World War III. It's just going to be incremental like it's been all along. and they'll try to, pass it off and make some excuse or call it something different. And for a long time, people will just say, oh, well, we're just over there doing this. Well, they're just advisors. Well, they're just this. And then one day we'll wake up and realize that, wow, we've been in World War III for a while. We have been in World War III. I mean, that's the thing. We've been in World War III for probably 2 or 3 years now. And there's been places on this planet that conflict because of it has been going on. But we're in that state of war. It's just not necessarily heated up where you and I are at yet. But it will get there, and we need to get prepared. So be thinking about these things. How many things in your life are affected by imported stuff, things that will be consumed very quickly, panic buying, all of that. That needs to be your goal this week, is to try to figure out the things that are really important to keep things functioning around you, that you can stock up on and that are not made in America. And it's going to be a big, big list. So start working on that today, folks, and get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.